welcome to the fourth and final review of the evening. Uh, Something Ate My Aliens. So, this game we were supposed to review last week, but I was having some unspecified technical problem. Like, the game would load up, I could get about 5 minutes in, and when I got stepped through the first teleporter, the game would just kind of soft lock. Not completely freeze, but just stop working. It really weird. A lot of back and forth with the developer on this. Really couldn't figure out the issue. Got a second code. So this game was bequeathed to Twilight, and he's going to be handling the review in my stead.
Mm-hmm.
Take it away, Twilight.
All right, so this game is how do I describe it? A 2D puzzle platformer Metroidvania, and
digging game.
And digging game, of course. Yeah. Primarily a digging game. Anyway, yeah. Now the game is about not necessarily you, but an AI that is a part of a mining spaceship full of aliens. His job is to go mining for various artifacts, minerals, gems, and whatnot. By sending out these aliens in these spacesuits to collect them for her, at least there's no specified gender, but the name. Anyway, at Antalasia or something like that. Well, anyway, Antalasia gets hijacked by a pirate AI. Going by the name of Drango, I think, something like that, and calls himself a superior AI. Probably just because he was able to hijack her ship and take control of her functions. So I would say it seems more like it's laziness, in my opinion. Anyway, he is forcing your AI to send you the aliens who are assuming the role of to go search for ransom items for him and collect them for him and send them to him, and that's the basic premise. Now, as the description of the game suggests, you are traversing a underground maze while you're digging through it, collecting various loot. As I said, the gems, minerals, fossils, artifacts, and whatnot. You dig using your mining laser, while also fighting off the local wildlife and flora that are very hostile towards you for some reason. Probably because they want to eat you, of course, as the game's name suggests.
They know you're in a video game and it's their job.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, your main goal is to collect these ransom items. You got a sort of sub-objective as well to collect these 10 tokens from each planet. There's 4 planets that you will be exploring in this game, starting with Metis, which is your plain old earthy environment type planet. You'll also be exploring what's it called here? Tartarus, a volcanic world, and Lelantos, which is a swamp and toxic type of world. And then finally, Aura, the ice world, basically. And these 10 tokens are kind of sort of guarded by these things that your AI can only describe as something. There are these giant worm-like beasts, well, worm, serpent type beasts. They all seem to breathe fire, and they just fly through the air freely, unhindered by the environment. So, yeah, then they actively, well, not quite actively, but they'll come along every now and then and pester you for a bit. And then you then leave. Or anytime you collect a token, they'll come and attack you for a bit and leave. But yeah, you have to collect these 10 tokens so you can defeat them because the tokens are protecting them, like some sort of barrier or something like that. Once you collect the 10 tokens, you have to defeat them and collect the final. Each of the tokens apparently have like a part of a passcode, and they hold the final piece of it. You have to kill them and collect that code, and then you can move on to the next world. Now, as for the gameplay itself, it's not very fast-paced, so to speak, at least not in combat-wise. Of course, being a Metroidvania-type game, you don't really expect that much in terms of fast-paced combat. But your biggest threat is not necessarily the enemies that will come and attack you, or even the somethings. But I'd say it'd be more yourself, actually. You'll be more likely to die from fall damage most of the time than anything else in the environment. Maybe some of the environmental hazards, like the acid pools, might harm you.
You'll fight weird enemies, space freaks, and the deadliest villain of all, gravity.
Pretty much, yeah. Your character has the ability to use a jetpack, but if you're not careful, you can, in some places, you can fly high enough to fall and hurt yourself, and most of the time, that's been my biggest threat, is the fall damage. And also, if you're not careful, you can dig too much of the environment up. There are some unbreakable blocks in the environment, but in some wide open areas, you can, in my opinion, destroy too much. And I learned the hard way what happens if you do. Now, you do acquire some upgrades throughout the game. You don't quite find these in the planet themselves. Each time you collect enough loot, you can go back to your ship, and in your ship there is a upgrade screen, which you have to have some materials that you can keep that the other AI doesn't take from you. And you can upgrade your suit to give you some environmental protection, like the toxic liquids, or maybe like Tartarus's lava pools and whatnot. You can also upgrade your aliens' biometrics, their health, and their oxygen supply. That's right. Yeah, you also have to worry about your oxygen as well. So it's not a great danger from what I've experienced. There's these auction stations that you'll find throughout the planets, and the auction supply from stations seem to be finite, so you don't worry about how much you take. Though each time you use them, you get a full restoration of your oxygen, but eventually you can use those up. But it hasn't been a big threat, but it hasn't been a big deal from what I've experienced, so it's still handy to get though, and yeah. There's equipment you can acquire. What's especially handy is the oxygen scanner. This, of course, will direct you to where any of the oxygen stations are. So in case you're running low, you can go to the closest one that the scanner's pointing you to. So that's pretty handy. There's also the teleport scanner. That's, of course, directed to a teleporter to take you back to the ship. It's okay to have. I don't have any real urgent need to find a teleporter. Among some other handy ones is the puzzle room scanner. I should have mentioned this earlier, but there are these puzzle rooms. That's where the tokens are, and they all seem to be block pushing puzzles. They're not exactly the most mind bendy types of puzzles you can come across. Some might trip you up here and there. You can, and if you make a mistake, you just press the R button and reset the puzzle if you need to. So yeah, I never really had much difficulty with these. But some of them are fairly creative, in my opinion, at least. There's the air cushion, which would be handy to prevent fall damage. I never really got it myself at the point I got to. But besides the equipment upgrades, you get weapon upgrades as well. You, of course, start off with your Magnancer. It's your basic gun. It shoots things. That's about it. There's the net gun, which is kind of a more powerful version of your basic gun, though it's got a cooldown time on it. But it's much better to have for some of the later enemies that you encounter. I also got the Pyroblaster at one point and it's okay. Not the most useful gun in my opinion. It was handy for fighting the bosses, the somethings, because their ability to freely roam about the screen, and they'll get behind some environments to keep you from shooting them. And there's some enemies like spiders that will hide in the dirt, and this is good for hitting them as well. And that's what I've got to say on that one. There are some other weapons I wasn't able to make them that you can get later on, but you can find out for yourself about those. You can also power up your main laser, and it allows you to break blocks quicker, and that's about it.
And tougher blocks.
And
tougher blocks.
And tougher blocks. Yeah, I assume once you get fully powered up, you might be able to destroy some of those tougher blocks. I got to the level 2 mining laser, and it didn't. Besides being able to destroy blocks faster, I didn't really notice any differences with other blocks. But I assume that will be the case. So, let's see, what else is there to talk about here? Well, of course, if you're the completionist sort, there is a whole screen showing all the stuff you collected. There is a finite number of these minerals and gems you can collect, so you can 100% that if you're the completionist sort. I think that's about all in terms of gameplay to talk about. Overall enjoyable, though it can get kind of repetitive at some points. I can bring myself to play for longer than an hour at times, but during that hour, it is fun, and at times you may get lost if you're not observant enough. But of course, if you just carefully look around, you'll do fine. Otherwise, I think that's all I say on the gameplay. Oh yeah, that's right. There are some power-ups you encounter as well. That will speed up your mining laser. That'll power up your mining laser to allow you to either shoot multiple blocks or just rip right through blocks like a hot knife through butter. There's also the invulnerability power-up as well. They're good for getting through acid pools and other environmental hazards. So those are pretty neat. As for the graphics, I thought the art for the game is actually quite nice. And very detailed, and the environments were really nice as well. And kind of hard to say much else. Overall, really good in the art and animation department.
It's a little bit harder to tell from the perspective we're looking at, but you felt like it was good enough in terms of how zoomed out everything is.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, you can make out what you're looking at most of the time. The things are easily discernible. Nothing graphical wise looks terrible. So, yeah. As for the music and audio, the music is actually really one of the things I actually liked best about the game. Fairly calming. Doesn't stand out too much while you're exploring, but it does instill a sort of sense of, at least when I was on Metis, almost sort of like a sense of wonder in the exploring part of the game. There are points it will get a little more energetic and fast paced when these somethings show up. Oh, I didn't find their boss music all that memorable. Well, the other music I've heard, I actually quite liked. Kind of sci-fi at some points. If you get if you know what I'm getting at. The sound effects themselves, they were good. They didn't stand out too much to me, but they did the job, so to speak. Well, then I guess that gets to pricing. Let's see here now. Well, get up there. This game is going for $16.99 right now. As for my recommendation, it is a good game. I guess it depends on if you're looking for a more digging focused Metroidvania type game. It's not Metroidvania in the purest sense, but if you want something that's makes it feel like you're really exploring a world, so to speak. Say you can get this. From my experience, it's not the most challenging game, but there are higher difficulty settings, and you can set it to those if you're not satisfied with the challenge. They change things like how difficult it is to get certain loot and expand how much you need to acquire for the pirate AI and sort of the other things you can expect, higher damage from the enemies and whatnot. But anyway, I guess I can leave it for the person's own personal up to player's own personal judgment, and that's it for me. It's a good game.
All right then. So yeah, that'll about do it for the review session. The week ahead, let's see. Coming up on Wednesday, we'll be having Samantha Green of Whitehorn Games. I have a bunch of games to cover. 3 principal ones, some others, and no Friday show this week. And yeah, that about do it for scheduling for the week. So until Wednesday, I shall wish you good gaming.